Copa pandemic, the epicenter, where everything becomes so tragic. We are so crazy, we're zooming to you. Can somebody please come and save me? So many people have really felt this. It's hard to imagine how we will go back to living in New York City, the birthplace of everything we love. Okay, we're artists. Where are the venues of freedom of speech and assembly? Okay, we found one. Café La MaMa. So welcome to Copa Pandemic. Welcome to Copa Pandemic. Welcome to Copa Pandemic. Woo! Yes! All right, Karen.
Hello, George. Hello, audience. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Copa Pandemic. And I'm Karen Finley, and this is George Emilio Sanchez. Hello, how are you?
Hola, buenas noches. How are you?
I'm doing, I don't, that's just how, I'm so tired of when people ask you how you are during here. It's such a mixed bag, right?
Yeah.
But I'm glad to be here, and it's good to see you.
It's great to be here, and I think people are going to be in for a real surprise because I think we've invited some special guests, and we're going to be talking about some really important things people are doing and how they can remain creative and have power and visibility for themselves and then for others with their projects. So I'm so happy to share this space with you.
Likewise, and George and I have known each other for some years, and we're really pleased to be here at La MaMa and to be sharing this time with artists and all of you with New York and the world. So we've got some wonderful guests, and our first guests that we're going to be, are we ready to bring in our first guests?
Yes.
Oh, great. Well, our first guests are from What Would a HIV Doula Do? And I saw their work that they were doing about looking at comparing the language with HIV and COVID. And this is a collective that is just so extraordinary. And today we have two members of this collective, J.D. David, and we also have Abdul-Aliy Muhammad, who will join us. So welcome. Can we all say welcome to them? And we're going to be hearing, and it's so great. How are you? Tell us, it's nice to see both of you, and tell us a little bit about the collective and about this, what you're working on here.
Hey, thanks for having us here. I'm going to share my screen and tell you a little bit about what we're doing. What Would a HIV Doula Do? Is a community of people joined in response to the ongoing AIDS crisis. We understand the doula as someone who holds space during times of transition. We understand HIV as a series of transitions that begin long before getting tested or getting a diagnosis and continuing after treatment. We know that since no one gets HIV alone, no one should have to deal with HIV alone. We doula ourselves, each other, institutions, and culture. And foundational in our process is asking questions. I'll highlight that, asking questions. So we found ourselves here and coming up with 27 questions for writers and journalists to consider when writing about COVID-19 and HIV/AIDS. I know for me, for a while there, it seemed like most people who weren't involved with HIV/AIDS didn't know what shit was going to come down with COVID-19, even the beginning of March. So, but we saw things rolling out, And then some writers and journalists started asking questions of the same 5 to 7 white cis guys and one cis woman about this misunderstanding that HIV history is just one thing. So we know the desire to compare COVID-19 and HIV/AIDS is understandable. We know the response to HIV provides an inspiring roadmap for how to save lives, but we are looking at what was going on and what people were coming out with. And well, we have some questions. So we're here today to share some questions with you. We are not going to give you all these 27 questions now, and there is not a quiz, but I'm just going to drop a couple on you. They're some of my favorites. This is one of my favorites. 13. Will your writing consider the range of people with illness? Will it center people living with HIV and COVID-19 who are most vulnerable, at risk, least served and represented? How do race, class, and gender analysis inform how you write about COVID-19 and HIV/AIDS? Are the people with COVID-19 in your story all or mostly those who are ostensibly healthy and non-disabled at the time of the pandemic? Are your expert sources people living with chronic illness or disability? How will your writing position people who are ill or who are placed at risk of illness? How do you resist the labeling of some people as a problem and others as a hero? You know, what I saw was that I wasn't the audience because I'm already sick with other stuff. And New York Times was telling us, you know, back in March, all we had to really do was wash our hands and make sure that elder people were connected to services. We knew that wasn't right then. It's really not right now. So I'm going to now turn it over to my comrade, Abdul-Aliy, who, in addition to being an HIV doula, also has written this important piece about, if you're looking at HIV and COVID-19, something to think about. Thank you.
Thank you, JD, and thank you to Karen and to George and to all the people watching this and listening in, and La Mama. So JD has touched on the 27 questions. I'm going to talk a little bit about what inspired me to write this piece for Race Baiter. And the title of it is, What Can We Learn from History of HIV Surveillance During the Era of COVID-19? The reason why this is so important to me as someone living with HIV is because looking at the landscape, like JD said, of the news, right? And noticing that people were highlighting the narrative of contact tracing, of using, networks to kind of hone in on COVID-19 infections, networks of people, and following those networks. It reminded me of HIV criminalization laws and the history of that, and the impacts that HIV criminalization has had on the most marginalized of us all, including Black folks, brown folks, trans people, queer folks, et cetera. And so it reminded me of the need to problematize surveillance, because all of the news was mostly, oh, this is great, this will end COVID-19. And so in the piece, I talk about the use of archetypes to criminalize people or to begin the process of criminalization, because it doesn't happen overnight, right? First, it's those promiscuous gay people who have brought HIV onto themselves, or it's those Black people who aren't taking care of their health that is making them vulnerable for COVID-19. But what happens next, right, is, resources are sometimes given to those communities after a fight or after long movements of activism. But then the resources are tied to criminalization laws. And I just want to give a little bit of history. ALEC, which is an organization that makes template legislation for states to pass in their houses, was an organization behind template language for HIV criminalization laws. They were the ones who also gave you template language for Stand Your Ground, which we know about because of the death because of the murder of Trayvon Martin. The ground was also behind HIV criminalization laws and making template language, because when the Right and Right Care Act was passed in 1990, part of the way to access it, if you were a state, was to enact HIV criminalization laws, which tied transmission to, or made that in quotes, because oftentimes transmission didn't happen, but made the idea of transmission criminalized. And right now, what we see is folks romanticizing or talking about surveillance as if it's good or it's going to end an epidemic. And we know that, one, it hasn't ended an epidemic before, it has exacerbated it, and it has made the most vulnerable of us more vulnerable and incarcerated. So that's a bit about that piece.
Thank you so much for both of you for what you're presenting here in this important, crucial work that you're doing. It just is important and it isn't spoken about enough. And we really wanted to start our show off with what you are doing. This is important work. And could you please let our viewers know about the website too, so we can, and also if you can please let us know, because we'd like to keep up with what you're doing. And we want, when we're writing about it, when we're speaking about it, that we understand and have a history, and especially with these ideas of surveillance. And so thank you so much.
Yeah, and thank you so much for doing what you're doing. The work is really important, and we're so glad that we could put you on this so that people can have access to it, because it's so vitally important. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's give a round of applause and thank you for your activism and your courage and your inspiration. Thank you.
Thank you.
Woo! Thank you.
And now we are very pleased to have another artist activist join us, and that is Viva Ruiz, who is also an artist activist, and I've had the pleasure to get to know her this year when we both appeared with Andrea for an Andrea Dworkin event. That was so much fun, and you give me so much joy, Viva. And as I understand too, you really have been touched by the virus in your own life with your own mother. And we want to send our love and joy with you, because your mother is recovering. And so we're so happy to hear that. And we want to welcome you, Viva Ruiz, also from Thank God for Abortion. Thank you. Welcome.
Hi. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
So nice to see you. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you to JD and Abdul. I really needed to hear that. Thank you for your work. I thought I would share just some notes I've made recently. Just some notes, and then we can chat maybe a sec. I'm gonna time myself too so I don't get crazy. Okay. Notes on agony. Agony is a word I've been thinking about a lot in the last few months, in the last couple of months, since all this. Okay, notes on agony. Trigger warning, suffering, death, hospitals. On calling 911, taking a deep breath, understanding that I have a job to do. Regardless of how I feel about that, take a breath, more than cry, something that's more than crying. Call 911, be on the video call. Removed, I'm not in the same house. Nobody speaks English in the house. Nobody speaks Spanish, an EMT or the hospital, mostly or my experiences in the hospitals too. I'm just gonna improvise and fill some of this in. Be on the video call, be the translator. No one ever speaks Spanish. Why? This is New York. Be positive and smile for mom. You are the coach and cheerleader. That's your job. Rewind. At the onset of pandemic, at the first mention, dread, knowing that she could not escape. My mother living with many of my migrant relatives in the same apartment. Relatives, my cousins, my aunt, my uncle working in factories, working as deli counters, working as pizza delivery people, AKA essential workers. Now those people are called essential workers. In and out of the same apartment with my 74-year-old mom, diabetic mom, respiratory history mom, nowhere to run, dread from day one. Pandemia, and it all did happen. Past that, now at the second hospitalization. The first day of the second part in palliative care, the doctor brings up the DNR, which I know from my father's illness 9 years ago. I know what that means. I stay calm, I stay strong, I stay positive. I explained to mom that she shouldn't sign that because normally she would, seeing what my dad went through in his illness. And I know that she'd never wanted to sign a DNR. But I explained that this is different, that the ventilator is the next right step. And that's what is normal, and it's what should happen next. And please don't sign that DNR. And having these conversations brightly with her, with the doctor in the room and translating. I explained that our cousin's mom is on a ventilator and they expect she's going to be fine at Montefiore Hospital. My cousin works there, and he said now, a few weeks into this, people are coming off the ventilator more than they were in the start. I explained that to my mother. She's comforted that somebody she knows is on one, and she agrees to not sign the DNR. So I explained that to her. I hear her fear and I pretend I have none. And in that moment, I don't, because I just need her to know she can hold on to me. I'm strong and I am in some kind of control. And I won't let her go, even far away, that she feel me holding her. She concedes, we continue. She ends up being one step away from a ventilator for a week on 100% oxygen, being pushed through this mask onto her face. But finally, one day, she can tolerate a different mask, the next mask down, called a venti mask, and begins this slow stepping down of the oxygen, miraculously. She's home now, coughing, recovering. My cousin's mom never was able to come off the ventilator and passed a few days later. Meanwhile, white people lounge maskless in Chelsea and McCarran Park. 40% of the wealthiest neighborhoods in New York City are empty. Meanwhile, peak dissonance, peak cruelty, peak evil. And somehow right now I'm valuing, for the first time in my life, this thing called positivity as an effective tool for healing. At the same time, I don't see any of this getting better in New York or in the States. I don't see it getting better. And somehow within that, I'm committing to some new levels of brightness and relief. Mostly I'm tired. But I'm committing to these new, for me, positivity never really was a thing, but now in this sense, positivity and hopelessness levels are high. But I'm really happy my mom's home, so maybe positivity is pulling a little more weight. Ta-da! Some notes. So now I invite Karen and George back in to chat with me if you would like to.
Of course. Thank you, Viva. Thank you so much. Wow.
Hi.
That was so heartfelt and intimate, and thank you for your generosity of sharing this, your personal story with us. And
Ooh, there's a lot going on. My heart just hurts for everybody. There's so many, as we said, there's so much anguish. There's so much anguish right now. And for me, it's like it's really peak dissonance that so many people are still not touched by this in the same neighborhoods. And yeah, I'm at a loss, to be honest, but
Well, Viva, if it's the dissonance, we see that dissonance, right? I mean, I was just talking to my neighbor down the street who's a bus driver, and about, she was upset because all these people were out without masks, and her mother's asthmatic, and, so the dissonance is something we see every day. I mean,
yeah,
in many ways, yeah.
And it exists. We know it exists. We're not naive. This is the state. We know about state violence. We know about, Black people are haunted by the state and never have not been. And, migrant people are disposable to the state. They're siphoned from, and that's it. I think I have new levels of rage too, but I'm really not in touch there yet, because the grief and the anxiety, that's a big one. And also the relief, are so turned up right now. But I'm normally a very angry person at rest. Like my levels are in red at rest. So I don't know what's going to happen to me a little even past this. But I'm excited to see, to be honest.
well, I hope that you're going to be continuing to be making art and expressing and hearing your work as an artist and as a human, recording and documenting what we're going through. It has some, because it's a human thing to do, and I am touched by your genuineness and not having a Pollyanna kind of, the inspiration kind of situation. And I find comfort in being able to have that space of what you're offering us.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Karen.
Your hat alone says so much.
You know what? When in
It may be
doubt,
one word, but it says a lot.
when in doubt, it really is about a look. That for me can really pull me through. A lip color, a hat, a chapeau, a look. It really can make a difference.
Well,
And I know about your rage. I have Ecuadorian roots myself.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and also Guayaquil being one of the other epicenters of this.
Right.
So, which
It really was. Yeah.
It's just a devastation out there, and I want people to understand. Like, if you don't know, please know. People are in agony. They're in agony. This aspect of this pandemic that you can't be with your people is just this, I can't. There's no words really to put to it.
Yeah.
But anyway, yes, there needs to be art. There needs to be some kind of we need to get into these hospitals and reach
Yeah.
Everybody that's in
Mhm.
there, that also is what I want, what I'm putting out there. We need some more of spirit lifting in these spaces.
Well, thank you, Viva. And our hearts goes with you, and my best to your mother. And
Thank you.
you're such a
Perfect.
vibrant person, and thank you for being so intimate with us.
Thank you. Thank you, Viva. Thank you.
Bless you. Thank
Bye-bye.
you for the
Thank you.
gathering. I might have to split because I'm a nurse right now.
All right,
But,
bye-bye.
Okay, nurse
Mwah.
away, nurse away.
Thank you. What a beautiful space for us that we're all, so many of us are feeling, and then being able to express for us here in this room, and beginning with looking at the language of COVID, illness, HIV, and then bringing to Viva's experience. It continues here today. George, any comments? Are you ready to have our next guest here?
Oh yeah, no, definitely. I'm definitely ready. Yes. It's the total counterpoint to this, which I love, because it's a switch, right? But it's beautiful.
Our next guest is a switch, is John Sims, and you can go to his website too, John Sims Projects. And I would like to just speak for a moment about him. John and I have been friends and colleagues and artists, and today he is presenting his work, which is called Corona Killa, and it's a game that you play, and it's a fine art video, and he's going to play it and share it with us today. And George and I have spent some time with him, and we really were inspired by about the dedication, how he's offered. So let's welcome John Sims, everyone.
Hey.
Hey, John.
Hi, John.
All right. Well, I'm about to share my screen with you guys and get crack-a-lacking. First of all, I want to thank, can you guys hear me okay? Is everything all right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, good. First of all, I want to thank Karen and George for giving me this opportunity to share my work. This is, incredible time, and art is a very important part of being able to sort of help move through the space. For the last 20 years, I've been very active in the fight against the Confederate flag on many levels, as I see it as an object of fear. And like the coronavirus, fear is a very, very powerful space to be in. And me personally, I found the process of art, the art of creation, the creative process has helped me confront that fear. And so this Corona Killa project is really about that. And before I get into the game, I really want to talk a little bit about what inspired that game, and it was a self-portrait. And this self-portrait is called A Date with Fear, a self-portrait in March 2020. And, I've lost relatives to this virus, complications to the virus, and friends, and it's a very crazy space, because here you have this virus that you really can't see. And so to fear something you can't see, like ideas, right, like the isms, it's a very powerful psychological thing. And so this inspired me, that dynamic inspired me to create this self-portrait with the idea of what would it be like to walk outside and see the coronavirus, these viruses as big as golf balls. And how would that inspire or enrage or create a sense of stabilization or destabilization? And so I ended up coming up with this piece, which is the idea to confront fear. And if you look at this portrait, you'll see in my glasses, you'll see that's the crosses from a cemetery. And then on the right, you'll see the globe, this idea of how this is affecting the whole world, coming out of this, the death toll, and how death is a way that unfortunately forces us to reckon with very, very important ideas on an emotional level. Then also you'll see the upside down flag on the lapel. And this is showing how this image, this idea of the coronavirus and the illness is exposing the craziness of Americanism, American society, the xenophobia, the racism, the sexism, the class warfare, the medical racism, and on and on and on. And it's turning our country upside down. And I guess part of even with all this stuff, I guess the mission, the idea for me is that how do we protect the love? In all of this, how do we move forward? And this is where we have the rose. So this piece really inspired this idea of how do we confront the coronaviruses. And I also want to give a salute to our immunity system. You know, those particles that are fighting every single moment to keep us alive. And so it got me thinking about, you know, on that level, on the cellular level of how this fighting is always happening, that preserves our lives. And I think we need to pay homage to those killer cells that protect us in lots of ways too. So here I want to move into the game. And John Sims projects, you can see here, Corona Killer. And so let's go right into it. If you go to this page, you can play the trailer, or you can go right into the game. So we're going to go right into the game. Service announcement. We click here. Coronaviruses. So I'm going to play an intro right here that is based on the self-portrait.
Hello. We are in trouble. The coronas are back. In pandemic force. We must destroy them. And we haven't much time. So here are the instructions. We have 3 killer cells to start. Tap the K cell to shoot. Slide right or left to move. Success will bring more killer cells. Kill the passing back or it moves. Absorb the spheres for energy. And avoid hurting them, for they are gifts of breath and fire. We have 3 levels to go through. So keep your viral load down and keep your energy levels up. Maintain focus. Fight the fear. Protect the love. For there is one chance, one body, one world. This is not a game. This is not a prayer. This is a mission. This is a fight for health, for life, for survival. Good luck.
And so now we move into the game. We have 3 levels. First level, you up to 5,000 points. Once you get 5,000 points, you can move into the second level, and 10,000 points, you get to the third final level. How do you get points? Well, you can shoot the bats, you can shoot the coronas, obviously. You also have these oxygen bubbles and life bubbles that give you life and energy bubbles. If you hit them, you lose points. You have 2 metric bars, one for your energy and one for your viral load. So you want to keep your energy levels up and you want to keep the viral loads down. And then every so often, once you get over a certain amount of bars, you will get an opportunity to absorb one of the medical icons here. to alleviate some, to get rid of one of the viral bar. Here, after 2,500 points, you will be given another life. So let us get into the game. Oh, game over. So here we have the leaderboard here, top 10 Corona killers. People playing from all over the world. We see the Brazilians are doing quite nicely here. Argentinian here, and we got one American down here. As you can see, I got a very small score. So this is the game, and in some ways, it's a fun way to approach this, but also I think the metaphor is very powerful in terms of this idea of being able to see the things that create fear and being able to confront them. Gameplay is a serious industry and another opportunity to use art to deal with some of these more critical issues. All right, I want to thank you all.
Thank you, John. This is really fantastic. Thank you.
Okay.
It was just wonderful.
Any questions?
It's such an odd dystopian game and quality and everything about it, and it speaks on so many levels. The commercializations, the war on COVID, and you make it, and it's. I hope it's going to be successful too. I mean, I could see, as a strange.
John, real quick, what did you think of doing this, and how long did it take you to put it together?
Well, here's the thing. Like I said, after I did that, the self-portrait, this idea of being out, imagine, coronaviruses everywhere. Your impulse is to get rid of them, to shoot them, to hit them away, that type of thing. So the game came rather quickly. So I put together a good group of folks, a team, programmers and various design folks, and put this together almost in 3 weeks.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, working on it. And there's a lot to go into this. It almost felt like putting together a film, to be honest.
You put it together faster than the stimulus checks came out.
That's absolutely true. And my hope is that this is a way for people to take out the because fear creates anxiety, and anxiety is a very interesting thing. So if this can help folks focus that anxiety a little bit, and also pay attention to this terrible virus that is serious, and it seemed like it's here to stay. So we're going to have to develop a relationship.
There is a one comment here in our chat which says, "I wish the human element was in there too, not just the bats." What do you think about that?
That's yeah. Well, I think that on a cellular level, I think that the cell, the killer, the killer white blood cell is the human element. That's the part that protects us on the cellular level, that allows us to wake up in the morning and not feel like we're about to fall over. The bat, is a reference to the source of these viruses.
Right.
And then you could also argue that the medical icon is the human element of confronting these issues, these health issues, through science and through vaccinations and through medical deliveries. So I think there's some human elements. It takes a whole culture and a whole science to be able to galvanize, right? To battle with this very small microscopic agent, that that sees no color in a lot of ways, sees no it just comes in, and as we find out more about it, it will probably change and come back. So yeah, I totally understand the element of, and I think part of my intro, right,
Mhm,
is also a human element. Me talking
mhm.
about creating a challenge to fight
Yeah.
this. I mean, that's also a part of the whole game
Well,
itself.
we can, for time here, I'm gonna be having to
Yeah,
leave it here, but this is so, your work is, you know how much I love your work and you as an artist, and also all of your work that you've done on the Confederate flag. And the reclaiming and the recoloration is important work that you've been doing for years. And I want to thank you so much for the work that you do and your commitment. And thank you for joining us here
thank you,
tonight.
Karen and George, for having me.
Thank you, John, man. Thank you so much.
All right, bye.
All right. We've been here for about 45 minutes and we've seen a lot of different things here. And I am feeling some comfort here, and I hope our viewers are, just being around artists and thinkers. And that's something that I have missed so much, is going to La MaMa and being in the audience, just seeing my friends and going to so many of the different performances, cultural events, and just the transactions. So I'm glad I'm being able to see some of you here tonight with us. And thank you for joining us. George, do you feel that way too? Or
Oh, no, this is
you're
like a
feeling?
blessing. This is a blessing. We all need it. We all need it. Plus, I know what's coming, so I'm really excited. I'm really excited.
And who's going to be joining us next is Dusty Childers. And it's such a pleasure for you to be joining us, Dusty. And we've known each other for about a year, and I'm such a fan of your work. And thank you for preparing something for us today. Welcome, Dusty.
Hi. Okay, so hi, how are you? So the thing that I am presenting is a video, so I'm just going to intro it just for a few minutes. It's a short video. So I am a person who has sort of entered the art, like performance art world, through having shown up at events for years and years. I've been living in New York for 13 years. I just progressively sort of just like wearing things. Right? I've just been wearing things, and then eventually it became this moment where someone was like, "Oh, are you performing?" And then I was like, "No, I don't perform." And so basically, sort of my public art is wearing clothes, right? And so at home, locked in doors, afraid for my life, catching this virus, I haven't been able to do that. I mean, there are people who have been doing really wonderful things like that, about that, putting up photo challenges. I just couldn't participate because I need people to be, I need proximity for what I do with this. So I just was sort of inside and going a little mad, And the thing that has really helped me is my dear friend Machine Dazzle is in Hawaii and has been foraging for pieces of natural materials and making these beautiful headpieces. You should look at Machine's Instagram, and was sort of documenting making them by going on Instagram Live. And so it was like a little hangout I could sit there and watch. And so I've been ordering, I'm here in Brooklyn, and I've been ordering shit on the internet like nonstop. And so it comes in and there's all this packaging. And so the packaging was making me feel crazy. But, so I've inspired by Machine, I decided to make something out of it, right? So then I made something out of it and then documented that and then made a video. So in collaboration with my boyfriend, Shane O'Neill, and my friend Bridget, who social distance videoed me we made a video. And so this is this is just in the words of my dear genius, the person at the tip top of my mountain, Justin Vivian Bond says, keep it pretty, keep it shallow, keep it moving. And so this is that. And just so you know, I put a comment, I'm gonna do it again. There's a comment in Facebook. You can watch the video here, but there's something fucked up with the sound, and we tried to troubleshoot it. I don't know what the fuck is going on. So it's a whole actualized thing with a beautiful soundtrack that we worked pretty hard on. And so watch it here, and then you can watch it again if you liked it. Share it. It's on YouTube. I just put the link. So I'm gonna do this thing now. I hope I don't fuck it up. So share screen. Okay, great. Okay. Hold on 1 second. Sorry, guys. Okay. Jeez Louise, it's a lot of work here. This stuff. Share screen. Okay, great. Here we go. Love you very much. Hope you like it. Know that the sound isn't perfect. I apologize. I'm a Virgo. Okay. So here we go. Social distancing.
My lucky hat. I never fly without it. I don't care. I need my hat.
Wow.
Thank
Wow,
you.
Dusty.
Thank you, Dusty. That was
Love
just
that.
wonderful. It was just fantastic.
Love that.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, so it's just basically about there's a lot of a tip for everyone who's doing a video edition on Zoom. You can't really do much nuanced sound, unfortunately. So a lot of it probably got lost, but there's like all these beautiful sound clips that I went foraging for as an homage to like, you know, machine making these things. And so there's like the clip from Goodfellas where the woman is
Yeah.
the hat. I gotta go home and get my hat.
I heard that.
Anyways,
It's magnificent. You are a Virgo. This is a fantastic work of art. It really is. It embodies this space of a strange sense of jubilance and freedom, but yet, enclosure and the quarantine, and how you put that together and still within this fashion and making something out of the throwaway, what's being discarded. Is such a gesture.
And then you discard it at the end. I mean, it's fantastic.
Well, I learned from my roommate. I guess I didn't realize that like sort of I mean, maybe I'm misquoting this, but like one of the main points of a mandala is to like make it and then get rid of it. And so the idea of like the spending the time, and there was like all this video glitching that happened, and like I lost all the video and had to start over and all this shit. So it just seemed like there were a lot of things happening to sort of keep this from occurring. And so it's kind of apropos to the time, is that like you can't expect anything to just, there's no smooth sailing, So.
That's for sure.
Thank you.
Dusty, I love that. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Mwah.
And we look forward to seeing more of your work, and keep making art and having us feel and getting in contact with these feelings that are so troubling and ambiguous, but yet have jubilance to it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Look, I'll talk to you soon. Bye, Dusty.
Bye.
Oh my goodness. I have a smile on my face here, and it's so nice to be seeing the work that we're seeing here, and also to be thinking of the energy that the artists here today, of the time and the focus to engage in our evening here today in all of our different ways is, it's moving in its own way. It makes me feel connected, that, the small gestures and the large gestures and everything.
But also to be in a time where everyone's been so challenged that hopefully we're a little more open to other experiences, other imaginations, other perspectives, and sort of see everybody doing what they're doing, facing the same thing. It's really, it's eye-opening, it's comforting. I don't know.
Thank you.
Somebody else coming up,
we have
right?
something else coming up. And before we're going to do that, I want to take a moment out to be thanking people here too, before at the end, instead of having it at the end. I just really want to be thanking La MaMa, the incredible staff here, the technical support, and everyone that has been working so hard, and the audience, the publicity, everything to be making it together, because we're all just working here, just kind of making this happen. And I appreciate all of your work that you're doing it. And thank you. And I also want to be thanking the work that for our opening intro video and music that was made by Violet Overton and Casey Wyman. I want to thank you for your work. So let us have our is that our last guest here? Well,
Our
I guess
next
we're
guest.
Our next
Our
guest.
next
And hey, I think that it's Pamela Sneed. Welcome, Pamela.
I'm coming. Hi, how you doing?
It's so good to see you.
Well, we don't see her yet.
Oh, we don't see you yet. Well, it's so good to hear you.
Oh, there she is.
And I want to get this out too beforehand, is Pamela is extraordinary writer and has a wonderful book that's out now, Sweet Dreams, but there is a wonderful book that's coming out in the fall with City Lights Books. And make sure to look for that, Funeral Diva, which I'm reading now as a, just because I can. So welcome, Pamela. Hi.
Hey, all you radicals out there.
Good to see you. And
Thank
we'll
you. It's good to see everybody. Thank you for doing this. I feel like we should do it every week. We need the COVID cafe.
We do.
And
would you like to read? What would you like to present today? You ready to present or to read?
I am. I'm going to read a piece called A Tale of Two Pandemics. And it's from my book, Funeral Diva, which is coming out with City Lights. And if you go to the page at City Lights, you can sign up for an alert for when it comes in. And also my watercolors are the background. And basically it's all about incarceration. It's called a quarantine quilt. Speaking of COVID-19, the headline in yesterday's news blared a tale of two pandemics, shocking inequities in the healthcare system. What got me was the use of words shocking and two. Those of us who lived through the 1980s, early 90s AIDS crisis already knew about the existence of two New Yorks, 2, 20, 30, 40, 50 Americas, maybe more, depending on age, race, class, citizenship status, entirely different systems for those who aren't white, straight, middle class. Those of us who saw our brothers, friends, sisters die at the hands of a system that shunned, refused to treat, threw away the unwanted. Still can't forget a gay friend waiting for Medicaid to treat HIV. It was weeks, he got sicker and sicker. I asked what took so long with Medicaid. He said they're waiting to see if I die first. That wasn't the America that I learned about in elementary school, whom I was instructed to put my hand over my heart, stand for, and salute. This wasn't the free America we sang of. People who are LGBTQI already know that there are two Americas. A doctor who kept forcing me to take a pregnancy test even after I insisted and blurted out at the time, I only have sex with women. I saw his scorn, still a test he made me pay for. And then those women who were forcibly sterilized had their wounds, their life force taken, left dry, barren by doctors who never even stopped to explain, felt entitled to take, scar women's bodies, breasts cut off, no options or consolation given. Women who aren't rich and white already know invisible lines you can't cross with no insurance or Medicaid, forced into black markets for drugs, a land of botched care, botched procedures. Black people already know separate doors, separate entrances, treatments, options existing long after Jim Crow. And I have waited for this moment, this time of a medical Me Too, when those who suffered from botched procedures and the indignity step from shadows speak and name the atrocities committed, medical malpractice. I won't blame all doctors. Some are good, just middlemen like so many in a broken system doing what they can. And I'm grateful for the good ones in this pandemic, risking their own lives. But the image of doctors we see in movies and on television who understand a complex problem, pour through the medical books and science, read through night under dull lamplight to find a cure, whose eyes weep with concern, are mostly false. Rare, like the ones who find a cure and refuse to patent or personally profit. Those days have become a myth. What's replaced them now are businessmen wanting status amongst peers, entry to country clubs and power, gaslighters, hustlers, and actors like Trump. There's a doctor at Mount Sinai, star of his field, charged with drugging and raping his patients. No one believed it until it was proven. His victims were only Black women. The rest he left alone. A Tale of Two Pandemics. Thanks.
Wow. Pamela. Miss Sneed, wow.
Hey.
Thank you so much. It really, it's so true. It's so, I'm kind of like just speechless, and you putting the words to what is happening here and to the realities of what we're living with, and also seeing your quilt behind you.
Beautiful.
Just
Thank you. Thanks. Let's keep doing it.
thank you.
Speaking truth to power.
Truth to power. Thank you for the work that you do, and you're always a voice, and you speak up and out, and your passion and the way that you feel for humanity is inspiring for us here. And I want to thank you for the work that you do and that you continue to do when it's so difficult during these times. And your gracefulness. Thank you.
And before you both, real quick, I'm going to include you on this one, Karen, for Karen and Pamela, you know, because I've done this 24-hour event the last 3 years on gun violence, and Pamela's been there all 3 years. You've been there the last 2 years. And it's just, you're both so powerful. But Pamela, your words, you always do this. You wake people up, you know, it's just powerful. And, you know, like Karen said, just really want to thank you, and thank you for all your work.
Yeah, well, the same, you know, I'm glad that we're all here and that we're doing this. And I'm like looking to all my peers, you know, I mean, we are the essential workers. Yeah, along with others. And it's important that that's recognized. And I'm really grateful for everybody on this program and for the two of you, because you always inspire me. And I have people to be radical with. Amen.
Well, thank you. Thank you,
Pamela.
Pamela.
Thank you. I just want to just also thank, real quick, I want to call out, there's so many people, and I'm going to say Violet and Casey, because they helped me with the music for my opening theme song that I thought was never going to work, and they made me feel like it worked. So I want to thank them for the music. I want to thank Chris Ignacio specifically from La Mama, who has been a real angel in supporting us in doing this. And we came at him with a lot more than we first demanded. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And I want to thank you, Karen. I want to thank you. You've been, this
You're
is
welcome.
incredible.
Thank you.
We wanted to do this, but I didn't imagine it would be like this, and that it would be not just us, but it would be a community of people that are all fighting the fight and facing the struggle and learning how to continue to transform. So I want to thank you.
George, it's wonderful to be here and spending this time here with you and with the other artists. I feel less disconnected.
Yeah. So, yes.
Oh, so I just say is that now we're going to, I guess now it's coming to sort of towards the end of our evening here. And I want to thank all of our guests. Thank you so much for joining us and preparing and taking the time out. And we know how much work it is to do. And all of us, the cognitive, just being able, the focus and doing it. So thank you for putting yourself out, for your originality and dedication. And what we'll be doing is, George and I have a duet that we're doing, in a way, a diptych, and George will be giving some final words. And I have a video here of artworks that I've been making, which are words of the epidemic that I've just been focusing on. And we have a short film that Violet Overd has put together, and with Casey Wyman. And so I appreciate that, with their music behind it. And so let us continue here. And thank you everyone for such a wonderful evening here.
I invite everyone to close your eyes. We have been here before. Not the we of we the people, but the we of never good enough. A pandemic is not new, nor will this one be the last. Dust to dust, eye to eye, day by day, moontide by moontide, sunrise to sunset. The times, they are ablazing. As the search for a vaccine for COVID-19 continues, The question remains, when will we find a vaccine for the invisible enemy that continues to allow people to believe what they see, like the lines on a map, and not see what is hidden by those lines of division? Decolonization is not a metaphor. Facts are real. Believing is seeing what is not there, but what is right here. Now open your eyes. Look around. See